Hello and welcome to the Healing Insight podcast, episode 60, with me, Sarah Hunt.
And me, Jez Hunt.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Jay. It's lovely to be with you all again. Today, we're going to look at the learning cycle. But before we go heading into that, how's things with you, Jay? We've got beautiful sunshine here today. I've just not long had a weekend away at the football tournament with Alicia, who did really well. We managed to keep the rain off, but it was bloody cold up at Skegness. The wind was really cold. You wouldn't think it was April. You just thought it was January, but a good time was had by all. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, it's been a mixed sort of weather. Not ever so cold during the day. First thing in the morning, like today, we had frost on the car first thing, and yet beautiful sunshine. I went out for my walk this morning, and it was just a real spring day. It was that lovely slight chill in the air, but sunshine and flowers coming up and dogs being happy and me getting doggy cuddles and all sorts. So
Oh, very nice.
yes, I like my walks. There's only
Kitten
four dogs
cuddles.
today, so not too bad.
Yeah, there you go. Well, as I said,
So,
it would be interesting to look at the learning cycle today because we are constantly learning, aren't we? We seem to go through a cycle of things. We were talking a bit about getting moved out of our comfort zone in the last session that we did, and so this kind of feels like it just expands a bit on things
okay.
from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So what do you I mean you titled it the learning cycle. So what do you mean, or what does the learning cycle mean to you?
Well, to me, it's kind of like you learn something at a level that you understand it. And then as you change and grow, your level of understanding will change. So you kind of go through a bit of a cycle with something where you kind of are comfortable with the knowledge that you've got about it. And then you'll come to understand something else and your knowledge will change about that thing. And then you'll come to understand something else and your knowledge will change about that thing. And it's a bit like, we go through different levels of things at school, don't we? So we start off at primary level and we learn the basics and it gives us a foundation for certain things if we look at perhaps creative writing. And then we learn something else when we move up through the different years and so we develop that skill and that knowledge that
Hmm.
goes with that skill. And then you go up to secondary school and you'll learn a bit more. And then you go to university and you'll learn a bit more. But it doesn't stop there. It carries on through the whole of your life.
Yep. Yep.
And then you kind of it as you go through the learning cycle as well, it helps to expand your comfort zone. So to make your comfort zone bigger because you've got more knowledge, but you kind of when you're starting to learn new stuff about something, your comfort zone might feel quite uncomfortable. But as you get confidence with what you're doing, your comfort zone expands again, and then you'll learn something else that's new, and you're feeling a bit uncomfortable with it, and then you expand your comfort zone again. So it's kind of like the
Yeah.
cycles of stuff going on.
Okay.
Does
Yeah.
is that how you perceive it?
Yeah. I mean that absolutely aligns with where I'm at with it. In terms of the comfort zone, there's a diagram that shows. If you look it up, or maybe we can find it, but there's a very common referred to diagram that shows comfort zone in the middle. Then the next sort of stage out is the stretch zone. Then you go into the learning zone as you stretch more and more out of your comfort zone. The important thing is that as we learn, as we, like you say, as we take on new information about something, then we're adjusting and reevaluating what we believe about something. And it's kind of like to me, what popped into mind when you were talking was when we're looking for the truth. So we all have our own version of the truth. So if you look at it as there is the ultimate truth, whatever that is the actual truth. But we don't necessarily accept the actual truth or the ultimate truth until we reach such a point where our understanding allows us to see it as the ultimate truth. But along that journey, we will have what is truth for us that relates to that thing, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see if I can give you an example then, or the listeners an example. So okay. Then I might believe something to be true based on what mum and dad said to me when I was a child. But as I grew older, let's hope no kids are listening to this podcast. Or if you have got kids listening to it, please put headphones on now, just in case. But when we're growing up, here we go, warning alert. Spoiler alert, that's the one. Father Christmas, Santa Claus, whatever. People believe him to be true. And as kids, we learn, and it's all that part of that myth and that excitement. But then we hit a certain age, be it 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever, but we hit a certain age when we realise that it isn't actually that, it's actually our parents. So the ultimate truth is that it doesn't exist. It's just a myth and a story that's celebrated around Christmas to keep the mystery and the fun for the children. So prior to that, my truth was that that existed and that happened and that was what went on, until such time as my understanding changed and developed to the point where now I realize, because the fact that Santa Claus doesn't exist, or not in the context that's used, well, not in the way it's used, then that would have been, or that was the ultimate truth. But my truth was that he did at that time. So that's what I mean. So as we spend our life looking for the ultimate truth, and what is life about? So for me, my life journey is, I am finding my purpose. I am working in flow at the moment. I'm in my current purpose, and as far as I am aware, I am on track, and I am doing here now what I'm meant to be doing here and now. But that doesn't mean it won't change. So my truth of my purpose now is where it is now. 6 years ago, what I'm doing now was not my truth, was not my purpose. And I didn't even see it as this was what my purpose was 6 years ago. But over those 6 years, things have shifted. My understanding of life, of me, of healing, of coaching has changed and transformed to the point where now my understanding of what I'm meant to be doing is different. And now I've moved myself through my learning. I've moved myself into that position of being in focus and on purpose now. But that doesn't mean in a month's time, a year's time, 10 years' time, that my purpose then will be the same as it is now. So, yeah, it's an ever evolving thing that we readjust what we believe and what we think based on the knowledge that we have and how that links into our experiences, our values, and our beliefs.
Yes, because the experiences that we have affect our values and our beliefs. And as we have different experiences, that changes things for us, doesn't it? And changes the knowledge that we understand. But I also feel that, a lot of our learning comes from within, and we do need to learn to go within. That everything is within us that we need, but it's learning to actually access that information.
Yeah, okay, yes. And I would like to add a little bit to that. So, for example, if I want to learn to fly an aircraft, okay, then the desire, the drive, the knowledge that I want to learn to fly an aircraft is within. The actual knowledge of flying the aircraft, so what each of the controls does and how to actually do it, I need to learn that. I mean, I could sit in a plane and give it a go, But I'm not necessarily confident
I'm not
in
going to
my
be a
ability
passenger.
or trust myself to that degree in terms of just intuitively knowing what everything is. So there is, I feel at this point in my life, there is the need for external knowledge. The internal part is the going within to make the decisions and the choices that lead me to finding the right instructor that will teach me in the right way for me to learn how to fly a plane. So
Mhm.
I think, the learning. So yes, we need to go with, I mean, I think the ultimate thing really is, if we're trying to learn something, is to go within and do we actually need to learn it? Is it something we're feeling we need to learn, or is it something we think we need to learn? Because they're two very
Mhm.
different things, as we've talked about
Mhm.
before in various podcasts.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there are certain things that we probably do need external training with, but equally, we need to be feeling within us. Does this feel correct to us? I think that's part of our learning as well. It's like the information that we're presented with, whether it's about an aeroplane and how that flies and what you've got to do to actually get it up in the air, or whether it's about, I don't know, um, the way that plants grow and the weather is and things like that. We actually need to be going inward when we are being presented with that information. Is that my truth? Does that resonate with me? Does it feel correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's quite important because whoever's facilitating learning, they're going to give their truth, but that might not be your truth. And I certainly had that with students where I presented information to them. And bear in mind, a lot of my information is intuitive information. And they'll say to me, no, no, that doesn't resonate with me, Sarah. So I'll say, that's okay, park it, come back to it. Come back to it in a few days, back to it in a few months, whenever it feels right to come back to it and then see if it resonates with you. Because sometimes it's our perception of things, it's what's been going on around us, it's what's going on within us that affects how we perceive things and whether something resonates with us or it doesn't. Or it might be that a chunk of information resonates with us and we look at the rest of it and go, well, that bit feels right, but that doesn't. Why is that? Why doesn't it all feel like truth? And again, that comes back to experiences, values, beliefs, and our reference points as well. That will affect our perception of information and whether it feels like it's truth or not.
Yeah. I can think of multiple courses that or programs that I've paid for, I've started and then stopped because they didn't feel right. And there are some things where I've taken one thing out of a course. It's been, oh, that's absolutely spot on. And then the realization that that's all I needed to learn from that course, not in life, but
Mm.
the thing I needed from that thing that felt right was this one thing. And it goes back to what I was saying before, in that what feels truth to you today doesn't mean it's going to be truth for you tomorrow, because things could have changed, your understanding could have changed. So taking something and parking it, if it doesn't feel right for you, park it, revisit it, and or not. I mean, you don't have to revisit anything.
No.
You can, I think one of the things I think I've come to understand, and this is probably part of my learning, if if we believe that we are here for a purpose, we are here on a journey to do something. So we're learning about ourselves, but we're also here to help people in some way and help the humanity in some way and the planet. Then the way I see things is, if the universe is wanting us to do A, and we choose to do A, if we have a choice, because everything's choice through life, we have free will, then so everything then aligns up and everything, we go into flow and everything's there because we've made that choice, right? if the universe wants us to do A, but we choose B because we haven't picked up on the signals from the universe, or we haven't gone within to see which it is we do, but we choose B, I believe we will still end up at A ultimately, but we're going to go round about the houses to get to that. And there will be problems and friction and restrictions and things not flowing because we chose something different to what the universe is lined up for us to do. And it's through that resistance that we make the learning that ultimately brings us back to actually that's what we should have done, could have done, or we may not even realize that that was what happened at the time. But we will end up back there because the lessons we've learned to get us back on track were necessary because of the decisions we made. Yet, had we made the other decision, we'd gone A at the beginning, then we wouldn't have learnt the lessons because the lessons didn't need learning because of the choices we made. Or those lessons didn't need learning. So, again, a lot of this stuff seems quite philosophical, but it's actually quite... I was going to say quite logical, but that's going, if you're going into your head to try and understand it, then it's quite logical. If you feel into it, it feels right to me.
Mm. Mm.
You know,
And that I think is something that's really important. Whatever you're learning, it's feeling into it, isn't it?
yeah,
Try and learn to feel into it because we've been programmed. We've been programmed to take on board what we're told as being truth. So we're taught certain things at school, and I'm not saying that everything at school is incorrect. However, the way that we're taught to learn is that somebody outside of ourselves gives us the information, and we take that information on board. We don't have to do exams and bring that information to the fore and write it in our answers. But to me, true learning is about listening to what is being presented to you and then feeling into it. Does it feel correct to me? Which bits of this do I need to take? Which bits of this are going to help me? And it's kind of and that way you're doing more self-learning. And also I think it's really important that we investigate for ourselves as well and look at different areas and different opinions and different knowledge about the subject matter that we're looking into, for example, and so that we can take the bits that resonate with us.
yeah,
So it might be that, you know, XYZ is presented to you, but only Y actually feels correct. So you kind of chuck the rest away and go, no, that bit's the bit that I need to know about. I think you were saying about this, like this with courses you've done previously. And then you might do a bit of research on the internet to see if you can find any more information. And you go, oh, yeah, that feels correct to me, but that doesn't. Okay, we'll take that bit. And then you might have a discussion with somebody and you think, oh, that's an interesting perception. Maybe I need to take some of that on board. And so you're actually doing your learning by doing stuff for yourself. And I think that's really important as you get older, is that you don't expect other people to give you all the information, but that you actually whatever you're learning, you make sure that you do some of that for yourself.
yeah. You need to read around a subject. One person's opinion on something doesn't make it true. One
No.
person's opinion on something or one person's viewpoint on one thing is one person's viewpoint on something. So if you really want to learn something, whatever it is, the best way to do it is to go and do different courses. So similar topic, but different courses by different people. To go and do your own investigation, to go and read around the subject, to find books that aren't recommended in the course structure, but relate to the topic. And as you say, take out of it what you feel to be truth or what you feel is right for you. If I look at, so with me coaching, if I look at all of the courses, the coaching courses I've been on, I do not 100% follow any of them. But what I do is I've pulled the bits that resonate with me in the way I work and the way I feel I want to be coaching and the way I feel drawn to coaching. Then I'm pulling those bits out, and my coaching process, if you like, is based on little bits of lots of different people that I've learnt from over the last 12 years, and
Mm.
more, because there's stuff I learnt 20 odd years ago, 30 odd years ago, that I'm still using some of those techniques, or they're coming up in some of the stuff that I'm doing. So it's learning to rely on, trust on your resources. So if you're trying to learn something new, then don't just pick one course and go with it. So yes, look at the courses that are there, if we're going to talk courses, but look at the courses that are there, feel which one is the right one for you to do right now, because that invariably there will be something in that course that you are meant to learn, because that's why you're drawn to it. That doesn't mean that if you sign up for one course that that's it and that's the only information available on that, because not all of it will resonate with you. Not all of it will make
Mm.
sense to you, and that's okay.
Mm.
It'd be like it'd be like going on I don't know, when you went nursing, it'd be like doing your 2 years of nursing and then that's it. That's it. You've learned everything you need to learn. Nothing's going to change. You just follow everything that you did. Well, you didn't. You learned on the job. You adapted. You changed. You took on your own viewpoint of what nursing meant to you. Yes, you had guidelines and you had structure to begin with. And I'm not saying,
We'll still have some guidelines and structure
well,
after 3 years of
yeah, yes,
of training and going in, but we always said that we didn't actually fully learn anything until we're qualified.
yes, it's like driving a
Because
car. You don't really learn how to drive in traffic with other people until you've passed your test and you go out on your own. That's when your
mm,
learning really starts. Yes, you've learnt the rules and the things to try and keep everybody safe in terms of when you're allowed to go on a roundabout and blah 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 blah, and what you learn the basics, but you don't really get an appreciation for what it's like to drive until you actually start going out there on your own.
no,
So
I think
learning
that's the
never
same with anything,
stops.
isn't it? Learning never stops. It really doesn't ever stop. But it is about us taking responsibility for our own learning. And yeah, we can do stuff where other people are facilitating learning for us. But then, I remember saying to one of my students, I used to dread it when I first started teaching MGE, and I used to dread it when she was on my courses because she would ask the most awkward of questions, and I'd sit there thinking, "Oh, I really hope I can answer that." And we joke about it now, and but what I say to her is what I used to love about the fact that she asked so many questions was it showed me she was engaged. It showed me that she wasn't just taking what I said as the truth. She was questioning it. She was looking at different angles. She was making me look at things from a different angle by asking those questions and making me think, you know, do I need to adjust my practice? Do I need to look at this? As well as gaining more information for herself. And I think, as a facilitator of learning, I do worry if I don't get any questions when
Yeah,
I'm teaching stuff because you know we all need to be checking in with ourselves and making sure that the information that we're receiving feels correct to us, whatever it might be, that it resonates with us. And if it doesn't, then ask questions around it. And that's okay.
yeah,
I think people sometimes people get a bit worried about asking questions. And I've always said to my students, no question is ever a silly question because there'll be someone sitting there wanting to ask that question. And if you don't ask it, no, they might not ask it. So it it is an important part of learning is to question things. And I think that's part of the learning cycle as well, isn't it? Is you question things, you question whether it feels right for you, you question why it's happening, you question what you might have done better, you question. And it's just letting those questions come up from the heart because it helps you to just to assess things and how you may have done things better, how you could have done things differently. what if you had done things differently? Would that have changed the outcome? Probably not, because we always seem to get to where we need to be, but it might have made it an easier route if we'd done it a different way. So it's yeah, it's just this constant learning that we're doing because the human, we're here to learn about ourselves. So if we're going to make any sort of progress, we have to be learning
Yeah, for me,
all the time.
it's going into life, going into anything with a level of curiosity, being inquisitive, not just accepting things for they are, but asking questions. Like you said, reflecting back on something when an outcome doesn't turn out how we want it to, reflecting back on that can be useful. It can help us to understand ourselves better, to understand how we can make better decisions in the future. It can also be unhelpful if we're pursuing something that we don't need to pursue. So I think for me, there's kind of a level at which, and it boils back to, and I'll come on to this, it boils back to something that you said. There's a level at which asking too many questions is not helpful.
Hmm.
It's so just for the sake of, if you think of like little 2-year-olds, why can get a bit wearing.
Why he's
However,
got a why he's got a curly tail, I used to say,
yes.
because why has a
However,
curly tail?
that's curiosity, and at that age, that's
Yeah.
inquisitiveness, and they're trying to understand the world. So I think there's a level at which we, it can be unhelpful to keep asking questions and keep, particularly going over the same questions all the time. It comes down to feeling what the question is, intuiting what the question is you
Mm.
need to ask. Because if you go with your intuition and you go with the questions that come up from your intuition, whether that comes up through just pops into your head, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through journaling, whatever method you use to connect and relax into that, if it comes up from your intuition, that's what you need to know.
Yeah, because actually, if it's coming through your head, you probably already know the answers. You just need to feel it within you, and
Yeah.
that's certainly something that has been brought to my attention with the work that I do, and I've experienced situations where I've had people asking me questions, and then it's like, now feel it. You need to ask that question, or do you know the answer for it already? And then when they feel into it, it's like, oh, actually, no, yeah, I do know the answer to that. Or it's like when you've got someone that's not listening properly, and you've given the information, and then they're asking the question, and you've already given the answer. It's like, come on, drop into your heart, listen with your heart, absorb the information, and then let the questions come from your heart. I think that's really important because then it's coming from your intuition and it's what you really do need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Hmm. Interesting way of looking at things, isn't it? And it's just remembering that learning is a continuous cycle. We're always going to be learning new things, and there's going to be stuff that we're going to ditch and chuck out because actually it doesn't resonate with us anymore. But then something else will replace that, and that's all part of the journey. It's all part of coming to a greater understanding of ourselves. And the most important learning journey that we have is learning about ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go.
There we go.
Interesting topic.
Indeed. No, it's a good one. Like that.
Good. Okay.
Hopefully
Well,
the listeners did as well.
hopefully the listeners did as well. If you've got any questions, then do please get in touch. Our details are in the show notes. Um, Otherwise, until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.